Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your latest Manchester United news. And as always, we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Wan Bissaka. We're going to talk about Scott McTominay. We're going to talk about plenty more. Deals getting done. It should be question mark in the thumbnail. I do apologise about that. But yeah, we're getting close on deals for a number of different players. So we're going to talk obviously about Wan Bissaka and what that means then in relation to Mazraoui coming to Manchester United. We're going to talk as well about Scott McTominay. A lot of stories coming out today about Scott McTominay. Laurie Whitwell has had the latest update and that has come in about 20 minutes ago. So we'll talk about him as well. And then again, the knock-on effect that we have about players leaving. What does that mean about players coming in? Ugarte, there's a change in the dynamic when it comes to Manchester United trying to sign Ugarte. We'll talk about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about Ligt as well. Reports coming out in the past 24 hours suggesting Manchester United have got a deal in place and they're ready to pull the trigger on it. Well, why don't we just do it? So we'll talk about him as well. But before that, guys, please do smash a like on the video. Hit subscribe if you are new to the channel. We're on the road to 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. Absolute legends, every one of you. I do appreciate all the support as always. But please do get your thoughts into the comments section. Most important, we want to get into your suggestions and your questions and your thoughts as much as mine. And get your votes in on the poll as well on our live chat. We've got who will United sign first, Ugarte, Ligt or Mazraoui. It is neck and neck at the moment between two players. So get your votes in there as well, guys. But look, we're going to start with the right back situation. Now, we do know this is probably the number one area at Manchester United that is going to have a knock-on effect to players coming in. Obviously, it's in relation to Wan Bissaka. Now, reports coming out from Florian Plettenberg today in Germany are saying that West Ham have now reached a verbal agreement with Wan Bissaka. Personal terms have been agreed. However, there is no agreement with United yet. West Ham have made an offer of £10 million, but Man United demand up to £18 million at this stage. Negotiations are ongoing. It's good news in relation to, I suppose, exits. Now, there's a lot of people saying, and to be honest with you, I agree with the majority of people saying that why are we getting rid of Wan Bissaka first when there's other players there we could be looking at getting rid of. And look, it's a very fluid situation when it comes to players coming in and coming out. We do know that Wan Bissaka is not the worst player at Manchester United, but it doesn't mean that he can't be the first one to leave out of the group of players that we're talking about, whether that be Lindelof, Maguire, Scott McTominay, Jadon Sancho, Anthony, whoever it may be. It just happens that, this is the one that has, sped up. And it's an awful lot has to do with the opposition clubs as well. West Ham want a right back. They want one in as quickly as possible. And Bayern Munich are looking to get rid of a right back as well. So Manchester United are negotiating with West Ham. And as we said, it's happened a couple of times so far this transfer window, from a United standpoint, that we've had personal terms agreed long before a fee has been agreed between the two clubs. So, look, I'm not changing my outlook on this. I do think Wan Bissaka will leave, and I do think we will get in a new right back. It is a shame that he's leaving. I do like Wan Bissaka. I do think 10 million is a low ball. It really is a low ball. I mentioned last night on the watch along that you're getting a very, very good defender, a very, very good right back for a team like West Ham, a mid-table team. I think he'll have a really, really good time at West Ham. I honestly do. Playing in the lower block where you're defending more than attacking, I think it'll suit him down to the ground. I really do. It's a massive loss on what we've paid. You would have to say we paid 50 million for him. But, can you say we got our money's worth out of it? I don't think you can. And it's disappointing. Now, I love Wan Bissaka, and I think, he's a fantastic defender. But, when you're talking about the modern day fullback and when you're talking about what you need now to play the style of football that Erik ten Hag wants to play, Wan Bissaka just doesn't fit the mould, I'm afraid. And it's disappointing. And there's no one as disappointed as me because I really do like him. But, like we've said before, Manchester United are now moving into a new era with new direction, a new ownership, a new management, and that new direction means we're not going to allow players to, see out their contracts and leave on a free. Aaron Wan Bissaka is not going to get offered a new deal. I don't think Aaron Wan Bissaka would have got a new deal even if we hadn't got new owners. I think if the scenario played out with the first team like it already has, with Delo establishing himself as that first choice right back, I think Aaron Wan Bissaka, in fairness to him, he's a good, honest pro. He just wants to play football. And I don't think he would be too happy with being the backup to Delo, for the long term. So, we're not going to allow him leave on a free next year. It's time to move him on this year. And it's good. Again, as disappointed as I am to see Wan Bissaka leaving, I am happy to see that we're pulling the trigger on these kind of deals. We're trying to get as many players out as possible. Now, you can never force a player out. We've seen that last year with the likes of Harry Maguire, and a little bit again this summer with only last week Maguire saying, he's under the impression that he's part of Manchester United's future plans, which is, you want to go home and, don't take the red pill, take the blue pill, Harry. But you can't force a player out of the team. They've got a contract. Legally, they're well within their rights to stay and see out their contract if they wish to do so. However, Aaron Wan Bissaka comes across as the type of guy that just wants to play first team football and move on. Now, you would hope that we can get more players like that, and we will talk about a couple more in relation to, moving on and getting a fee for them. Aaron Wan Bissaka seems to be the first one. Now, we have had players leave so far. We've had Mason Greenwood, a couple of other players, that, wouldn't be really first team regulars have gone as well. So it's a good start to getting players out. You will obviously save on wages. Aaron Wan Bissaka is not on an awful lot of money, but I do think the player you're probably bringing in his place is probably not going to cost you an awful lot more, to be quite honest with you. Now, that player that we are talking about coming in to replace Aaron Wan Bissaka is Mazraoui. Now, according to this guy, Santi J, who was first to break the news on the Lenny Yoro to Manchester United deal, he has said that Man United have informed Mazraoui that a deal will be finalised to bring him to the club. The defender is waiting for the green light to leave Bayern Munich's tour. And we spoke a little bit last night on all of this is relying on Manchester United and West Ham agreeing a deal for Aaron Wan Bissaka. As soon as that's done, happy days, the trigger will be pulled on Mazraoui and he will be in as Manchester United's new right back. What do I think of this? I mean, look, Mazraoui is a good footballer. I don't think he's going to come in and maybe absolutely blitz Delo out of the team and take that spot and make it his own. I think there'll be good competition there. My big concern with Mazraoui is that he does have a very checkered injury history. He's had an awful lot of injuries over the past few years that have kept him out for quite significant time. So maybe is this a ploy out of Manchester United to maybe lose somebody like Aaron Wan Bissaka, who is wanting to play first team football, and get in somebody like Mazraoui, who's probably a better all-round fullback, modern day fullback. I hate using that word, but you know what I mean. And he's probably not going to come in and want to play first team football all of the time. Well, I'm sure he will want to. Maybe injuries won't allow him to do so. So the right back area at the moment is one that I think is going to move relatively quick once Manchester United and West Ham do agree a fee for Aaron Wan Bissaka. I do think we're going to get moves being made really, really quick in relation, to that position on the pitch. Let's see what people are saying here. Dara is in. He says, I think I'd be a bit disappointed to see Wan Bissaka leave. Ben says, I don't like the fact we're selling Aaron Wan Bissaka, but he is too good to be sat on the sideline. So best for everyone for him to go and play ball. And Daryl says, Mazraoui is very injury prone. For that, I'd like to keep Aaron Wan Bissaka. Look, guys, I do agree with everything that you're saying. The issue here is you either give Aaron Wan Bissaka a new contract or you sell him. There's only two ways that it can go. If you don't give Aaron Wan Bissaka a new contract this summer, he will leave on a free next year. Why will he leave on a free next year? Because he is more than likely going to be still the backup option to Delors throughout the entirety of the upcoming season if he doesn't leave. And what will happen is he will go into next summer saying, do I extend my deal with Manchester United and continue to be in number 2? Or do I go somewhere, get a big signing on bonus because I'm on a free and maybe higher wages and be the number 1 right back at whatever club I go to? So we just can't keep Wan Bissaka. We just can't. It's not feasible for us to keep him for them reasons. And, and like I said, it's important now that we get players off the books before they run down their contract. It's happened way too much over the past 10 years where players have come into Manchester United, they've taken a shitload of money out of the club in terms of wages, and then they've had the balls to leave on a free and not allow us to sell it maybe a year before. And it's downright disrespectful from the players that have done it. Paul Pogba done it twice. We lost him for free twice. And it's something that I am really happy seeing us change, that we're no longer allowing players to leave on a free, and it's the way it should be. It really, really is the way it should be. Let's see. Do you think he's worth giving a new contract, says Dara? Look, I mean, we've given contracts to worse players, new contracts to worse players. Phil Jones got a new contract at one stage. Scott McTominay got a new contract. I remember when Jesse Lingard got a new contract. He's another player that left on a free. So these are players that haven't deserved a new contract. Does Aaron Wan Bissaka deserve a new contract? If he got one, I wouldn't be disappointed. However, I just think it's best for both parties that, rather than running the risk, we might offer him a new deal and he might say no and see out his contract then, until the end of the year, and then we lose him on a free. You just cannot do it anymore. I don't think United are looking at, I don't think United really ever had any intention of giving him a new deal, to be honest with you. And I do see that right back area as being an area that we could potentially improve. Now, look, Delors is improving massively over the past couple of seasons under Erik ten Hag. He really, really is. He's made that right back position his own. And if he continues to improve the way he has over the last couple of seasons, we don't need another right back. Right back is sound for another, 3-4 years, however long his contract is. I think he's only 23 or 24 at the moment as well, relatively young. So, if Delors continues to improve, we're happy days. And like I said, with the likes of Mazraoui coming in, who has a checkered injury record, you can say, well, look, your injury record is not that good. Delors is number 1, and we're going to use Liu sparingly, because we are going to need him at various stages throughout the season, whether that be to give Delors a rest or whether Delors picks up a niggle. You would hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I think Mazraoui is coming in, and he's going to come in. He is going to provide some competition to Delors, but I mean, Delors was pretty much our player of the season last year, wasn't he? So yeah, I don't see him moving Delors out of there, Mazraoui, to be honest with you. Dale, thanks for the 14 months. Absolute legend, man. Appreciate the support as always. Anyone else that wants to join as an official member, guys, link is in the description of the video. Go check out the options there. Gabrielle says, last 2 or 3 weeks have shown how cash strapped we are. We need to get the likes of McTominay and Aaron Wan Bissaka out as soon as possible. Cash strapped, I don't think so. But I do know what you're saying, Gabrielle. I do understand. And I don't think that's down to Ineos, to be quite honest with you. I don't think we're cash strapped. I think we've overspent in the last few seasons. And I think that's the issue we're dealing with at the moment. Manchester United have loads of money. We do. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world. The revenue that is generated is unbelievable. The issue is we've given out silly contracts to players who, don't deserve it at massive wages, and we've overspent on them players. Casemiro is a big one. Varane is another one. Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, came to United. We gave him, was it nearly 600 grand a week or something, crazy like that. And I think we're seeing that knock-on effect now. And when you're looking at, for example, the likes of Joshua Zirkzee, I think he's on 55 grand a week. So it is going to take time, and we've mentioned before, and even before Jim Radcliffe took over, when we were talking about whether it was going to be Radcliffe or Qatar, we were saying there is going to be a hangover for the next few years. One, in relation to clearing out the squad, because a lot of them are on big money and they're never going to get that anywhere else. So they're happy just to stay put and continue to pick up their wages. And secondly, is because of what you've said there. We're cash strapped. It's going to have a trickle-on effect until we clear out that squad. So while I do agree with you, I don't think we are cash-strapped. We do need to move on players because, over the last 12 months or so, the PSR and the FFP we've been quite close to. I do think we are getting better on it now. The likes of moving Mason Greenwood on for 30 million, which is pure profit. We're going to talk about Scott McTominay in as well, who's another academy player. That will all be pure profit as well. But yeah, great comment. Reese says, are we going to talk about how long Yoro is out? Yeah, so look, we mentioned it yesterday on the news show. Lenny Yoro is going to be out for 3 months, which is it's absolutely devastating news from a fan perspective, but also from a Lenny Yoro perspective. The kid is 18. He's after coming in playing 2 games for United, and all of a sudden he's out for 3 months. It's a freak injury. I'm not, and anybody who watches the channel regularly will know I'm not big on the whole conspiracy theory about is Eric Ten Hag to blame and so on and so forth. Doing your metatarsal in a game can be down to 2 things. It can be down to a challenge, or it can be down to the surface you're playing on. And I'm going to go with the latter there. The surface that United have been playing on in the couple of games over in America has been less than average, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, it's devastating. But again, we're going to talk a little bit about maybe a replacement, not a replacement, but another defender coming in a moment. Dale says Delo will improve a lot more with some new competition. Yeah, I think you're right on that one as well. I want to move it on, guys, and we'll talk about another outgoing. We mentioned his name there a moment ago, and that's Scott McTominay. Now, Laurie Whitwell has been speaking in the last maybe 20 minutes or so, and he says Fulham have made a £20 million bid for Scott McTominay. It does not meet Manchester United's valuation, but they may be willing to do business at £25 million. Fulham are progressing with talks in the belief that McTominay is open to a move. Now, we spoke about McTominay. We've been speaking about him quite regularly over the last few days, and we've been saying that he is a player that does need to move on. And I think the quicker we can get him moved on, I think Ugarte to Manchester United, who we'll talk about in a moment, I think that is going to happen regardless of whether McTominay moves on or not. I think, I don't think McTominay leaving is needed for us to afford to go out and buy Ugarte. Now, again, like we said, the money coming in from Scott McTominay is going to be pure profit. So going back to what Gabrielle said there, it's going to give us an awful lot of wiggle room when it comes to PSR and FFP and so on and so forth. Now, 20 million for Scott McTominay is I think it's their second bid that they've put in for him. Again, we've spoke about Manchester United wanting 30 million. Now, look, Laurie Whitwell is saying £25 million here. I'm sure there are going to be add-ons in relation to that as well. So, look, I'm okay with 25 to 30 million for Scott McTominay. I really am. And I put up a TikTok today about it, and a lot of people in the chat were saying that they're disappointed that we're, potentially going to be letting Scott McTominay leave. Given how good of a season he had and so on and so forth. And, I think it's... I think there's a lot left. There's a lot of work left to be done on midfield in this transfer window. And I don't think it's going to end with Ugarte coming in and McTominay leaving. We know that... Sofian Amrabat, for example, United are still pondering on whether they're going to actually go back in for him. We also know that they've got potentially a deal on the table for Adrien Rabiot, who's weighing up his options. He's a free agent this summer as well. So if you let Scott McTominay go, get in 30 million for him, bring in Ugarte, and then maybe bring in Rabiot as well, and you can, potentially look then at moving Casemiro on for some money as well. You're really, really freshening up that midfield. You really are. And it needs a refresh, that midfield. It really, really does. Now, different reports have been saying, Duncan Castles in the Times has been saying that McTominay is the Manchester United midfielder most likely to make way for a new signing. He is expected to end up at another Premier League team this summer. That's obviously Fulham that we're talking about there, and Fulham are expected to make another improved offer for McTominay to get them closer to Manchester United's valuation. Now, Duncan Castles has also been saying today that Tottenham are strongly interested in Scott McTominay as well. Now, again, look, Duncan Castles, the Times, relatively, decent source here, so, I wouldn't be dismissing this at all. And again, we've said this on multiple occasions with multiple players. The more clubs you have in for a player, the better it is for the selling club. Because, we know that Fenerbahce and Galatasaray have both been looking at Scott McTominay. I think they won't be able to afford the 25 to 30 million asking price that United are looking for. But Scott McTominay going to Fenerbahce, for example, and linking back up with Jose Mourinho, who gave him his debut at United, is something you could see happening if they could afford him. But it does look like he is going to remain in the Premier League. Tottenham coming into the race, if that is to be believed, can only be a positive for Manchester United, because it means that it means two things can really happen here. It means that you're going to have a bidding war between two clubs, or what it might mean is Fulham will go, all right, okay, here's the 30 million. We don't want to lose out on him to, Spurs. So, the more interest we can get in Scott McTominay, the better. And I think it's going to be an interesting week or two in relation, because this can move quite quickly. Manchester United are playing Liverpool on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and they are, I think, flying home the next day, I think. Or maybe I think they're actually flying home on the Sunday. They'll probably get Monday off, Tuesday off, maybe back in Wednesday. And look, we do know that deals tend to slow down when clubs are on pre-season tour. So, ready to rock and roll when they get back from pre-season, and let's get players in and let's get players out, because like I said, that midfield does need a big shuffle and a big freshen up in the summer as well. Please do smash a like on the video as well, guys. Over 40 people watching and only 18 likes. If you have a second, please do hit that thumbs up for me. It helps the channel out an awful lot. And if you are new to the channel as well, guys, please do hit that subscribe button. Like I said, we're on the road to 11,000 subscribers. If you are new, jump into the chat and say hello as well. A very friendly group and community we have here. So please jump in and say hello. Let's get through some of the comments here. Let's see. Reese says, it can't be unlucky. There has to be something to do with what we are doing to these players. Højlund, Yaro, Rashford and Anthony has to be the pitch of something. Well, look, Yaro is a freak. Højlund, you could say, all right, it's another muscle injury for him. Rashford, I don't think is injured. He just got studs on his foot. It's a sore one. He'll be all right in a day or two. And he was being substituted off 2 minutes later anyway. There was 8 players lining up on the touchline ready to come on. Rashford was coming off anyway. I don't think he was taken off injured. And Anthony, I mean, I'm not overly disappointed, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, Daryl says, I think we need to get closer to the £30 million for Max Sauce. I agree, absolutely. Dara says, if Scott was happy to be a squad player, I definitely wouldn't get rid of him. Well, see, the thing about it is, Dara, and I know, I never like to see squad players or academy players leaving. However, you do have to weigh up the options here. It's pure profit. It's pure profit. And he's probably not going to get a new deal next season. He's got 2 years left on his contract. He's not going to get a new deal. So you're only devaluing him by keeping him for another season. So why not try and get close to the 30 million now as possible, rather than getting 15 to 20 for him in 12 months' time? And when all of that is pure profit, it will go a long way. We have to zoom out a little bit here and look at the long-term plan that Manchester United have to getting back to challenging for Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues and so on and so forth. It is going to take time, but you do need to take these steps. We mentioned it here I think we mentioned it in last summer's transfer window. The sentimentality has to go from Manchester United fans. It just has to go, because, you know, you can get attached to a certain player, but if it's the right time for him to move on and it's the right thing to do for the club in terms of getting money in and reinvesting and so on and so forth, then it has to be done. It really, really does. But look, I mean, like I've said many times before, I think Scott McTominay would make a very good squad player. I really do. But, you know, if you weigh up the options, he's not good enough for Manchester United. And yeah, that's what we've got to keep an eye on. Ben says, is there going to be a better time to sell? Yeah, look, I agree. And that's exactly what we've been saying. It's Glazers' greed playing in America. Well, what you have to realise there, Michael, it's not just all the Glazers. You know, we played in the Snapdragon Stadium last night, which is a new sponsor that has come in under the Ineos at the time that Ineos have been here. So, you know, it's about brand building. You know, every Premier League team goes abroad for pre-season. It's about building the brand. It's about gaining new fans, so on and so forth. You know, you ask any manager on the face of the planet where they want to have their pre-season games. It's at home. You know, and it goes right down to, you know, the amateur level. I'm an assistant manager of a local team, and we're trying to get every single pre-season game at home because, you know, it's a controlled environment. You don't have to travel. You don't have lads drinking cans on the bus on the way home, you know, at a lower level, you know. So if you can play at home, the better. But all of these big clubs are going abroad to build their brand. That's what it is. Gabrielle says, unbelievable how fast the season is creeping up. Feels like the pre-season games just started. Do we think the likes of Bruno and Garna will start versus City? I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. You know, Garnacho is back in pre-season. We've seen today that he's flying back to Manchester today. So he'll be back in pre-season. Bruno will be there as well in the next couple of days. I mean, you know, them guys have been staying fit. They've had their international tournaments to be playing in with their country, and they'll get a few days rest like they've had a couple of weeks, and they'll be back in pre-season. I think they'll be ready to rock and roll because we're going to want to win that Charity Shield. It's Manchester City in Wembley, by the way, and the last time I checked, we won the last one. So we're going to want to keep that trend going. Neverworld says, that's the problem. There's far too many at United who just aren't good enough. There you go. It's the Snapdragon Cup. Business is business, but the first team starters need shielding. Yeah, I agree. Dara says, do you think we will see the Snapdragon Stadium in Manchester? I don't think so. To be honest with you. Look, if a new stadium is built, which I do think is probably the best thing to do, it's going to be 10 years, probably. You're talking 10 years before approval is done, before a stake is in the ground, and before it's completed. It's going to be another 10 years, probably. Now, by that stage, I would like to have Old Trafford, the name Old Trafford, incorporated in it. If it's Ineos Old Trafford, then I'm okay with that, because no one will call it that. People will just call it Old Trafford. But if it's the Ineos Stadium or the Snapdragon Stadium, that's where you're going to have an issue with fans. You know what I mean? Jim's wanting to stop focusing on getting Liz and Betty back into the office and getting the effing medical department sorted. There we go. Daryl says, need to be getting McTominay, Maguire, Lindelof, Casemiro, Anthony Eriksson out the door. And if Rashford has another shite season, he has to go too. Well, the one thing I would say is that Rashford has been looking very, very sharp in pre-season. He's been looking very sharp in pre-season. So, yeah, I mean, let's hope his foot is okay and it's just, you know, maybe a sore one. But guys, speaking about Scott McTominay on the way out, We're going to talk about a player potentially on the way in for Manchester United, and that's Ugarte. And supposedly PSG have changed their stance on Manuel Ugarte in a boost to United's transfer hopes. Now, this is coming from L'Equipe in France, and it's saying that PSG are now willing to accept a paid loan offer for Manchester United target Manuel Ugarte with a lucrative buy option included. Okay, now the most important word in that sentence is option. Okay, it's not obligation. Okay, and there's a big difference. So basically what that means is, you know, if Manchester United want to go out and get this guy on loan, supposedly PSG are now open to that, and it would mean that we could get him on a season-long loan. The money that we were going to spend on him, we can park that or reinvest it in other areas of the squad, and see how he is over 12 months and how he fits into Erik ten Hag's plans. And if we decide we want him next summer, then there is an option to buy. Now, you don't want that option to buy to be too high. You just don't want it touching the sky. Sorry. So, yeah. Sorry. Oh, man. Yeah. The old watch-alongs at 3 o'clock in the morning will take it out, yeah. But anyway, back on point. I think it's a smart option for United if we can go and get it done and get a loan deal done for him. Loan deals are not bad. You know, loan deals are quite a strategic way of getting more players into your club, you know, and keeping some of the transfer kitty to put it somewhere else, you know, and I think that's the most important thing here. Look, I do think Manchester United will sign Manuel Ugarte. I do think we will get him. I really do. PSG seem to be softening their stance a little bit. And the fact that they've got João Neves now, I think he was doing his medical today. So the fact that he's coming in the door, it should speed up the process of Ugarte to Manchester United. And if there's a loan there, then, you know, it will only be quicker because you won't have to negotiate on a transfer fee, and we could get him in as quickly as possible. Now, the buy option is something that you do have to keep an eye on. You do want the option to buy to be, you know, a reasonable price. And what you do have to take into consideration as well is that when the option to buy comes into effect at the end of next season, he will have a year less on his contract, which should bring the price of his transfer down. Now, if he has a fucking unbelievable season for us this season, then, you know, you're probably going to be looking at paying in around the same as PSG are looking for now, or slightly more. But I mean, PSG were looking for massive money. They were looking for more money to sell him than they actually paid for him 12 months ago. So, yeah, I think it's only a matter of it was only a matter of time before PSG actually softened their stance on Manuel Ugarte. But yeah, I do think that is a deal that can get done, and I think it's one that can get done relatively quickly now that João Neves to PSG has been pretty much done and dusted. It's not the official announcement hasn't been made yet. He was doing his medical today. I don't know if he got it all done today, but we should maybe have confirmation on João Neves from PSG tomorrow. And you would hope then next week is the week for Ugarte. You know what I mean? But yeah. All right?
No.
What do you mean, no?
She's still wide awake. Now something's hurting her when I don't understand it.
Oh, kids. Anyway, so yeah, look, let's see what people are saying here. Dara says the jokes are impeccable as ever. There you go. Happy days. Reese says, would have been a great game to catch. Seemed like good crack, but couldn't with work. It was, the first half was quite good last night. Yeah, it was. But the second half was a bit of a snooze fest. It tends to happen with preseason games where, you know, there's 8 or 9 changes after being made, and it takes the intensity and it takes the speed out of the game. A lot to be positive with though last night. Harry Amas was fantastic left back. I thought Luke Shaw or Marcus Rashford looked sharp. Ahmad on the right hand side was fantastic. In the second half, I thought Mount looked really sharp again. He's having a good pre-season tour, in fairness to him. So a lot of positives to take, in fairness. Daryl says, if that a possibility, we should be jumping at it quick. That's in relation to Ugarte. Let me take a little sup of water here real quick, guys, and we have one last item to talk about, and if you have any thoughts, throw them into the chat as always. Do hit that like and subscribe button as well, guys. The likes are flying up there, so I do appreciate it. If you haven't hit the like button on YouTube, take a second, hit that like button. Anybody on TikTok as well, guys, we're reading out all the comments over on YouTube. Link is on my homepage. If you want to come over to YouTube, head over there, hit subscribe. We do the majority of our content over there. So yeah, jump into the chat over on YouTube and let us know you've come across. We'll say hello. Now, moving it on, and as well, guys, anybody on TikTok, all of the articles that we're talking about, we do have up on the screen over on YouTube as well. So make sure you're coming across and getting involved. Now, finally, I want to talk about Ligt. This is coming from James Ducker in the Telegraph, and this was earlier this morning, that Manchester United have the makings of a deal in place for Mattias Ligt if they want to pursue it. What's the hold up, lads? What's the hold up? You know what I mean? Let's get this done as quickly as humanly possible. You know, we know what's after happening to Lenny Yoro. He's out until the start of November, which is devastating when you think about it. I mean, we're still in the summer now, and you're talking November. We're talking about, you know, when I think of November, I think, Jesus, that's Christmas nearly. So yeah, it's a big blow, and we do need cover there. Okay. You know, we were talking about, before any injuries or before any Euro signings, we were talking about signing 2 centre-backs, okay? We're now after losing one of the signings that we're after getting in. We need another one. So if Manchester United, according to James Ducker, have the makings of a deal in place for Mattias Ligt, then pull that trigger and let's get the deal done, because we need him in as quickly as possible. Get him in, get him integrated with his teammates, get him, you know, he didn't go on the pre-season tour with Bayern Munich as well. So you do have to consider that, okay? If you get a deal done for him, you want to be getting him in as quickly as possible so you can get him into Carrington, you can get him training, you can get him up to speed, and get him in there alongside, you know, the Butcher. And, you know, I mean, it sounds like, you know, you get Luke Shaw back now, who's fit after, you know, a layoff, and played a little bit in the Euros as well. You get him back. All of a sudden you get De Ligt in. All of a sudden you got a back four of Delort, De Ligt, Martinez, and Luke Shaw. Now, if all of them are to stay fit, that's up there with one of the best defences in the league. It is. It just is, you know. And I think, you know, this deal here, I mean, if we can get this deal done, guys, we need to pull the trigger on it, you know, as quickly as humanly possible, because, you know, we need cover there at centre-back. We really, really do. Yeah, so, and again, look, we know that, you know, what was holding it up in the first place was I suppose, the gap in valuation that Manchester United and Bayern Munich had. Bayern Munich won 50 million. United were closer to around 40, I think, or less than 40 even. So yeah, we need to get working on this one. I'm sure communication is still going with Bayern. You know, we did hear yesterday, which is great. It did go a little bit quiet on the Ligt over the past week or 10 days or so since we signed Euro. However, we did hear yesterday that De Ligt has turned down a number of different approaches from clubs throughout Europe because he wants to sign for Manchester United. Now, you've got a player there that wants to sign for the club. Happy days. Go and get that player and sign him. You know, he's 24 years of age. He's got bucket loads of experience, and, you know, he would be a great addition to United. I really do think he would. Let's see what people are saying in the chat here. Neverworld says, I'd start Amas ahead of Shaw. Don't know if this is going to be one of these seasons where Shaw will be available for half the games. Well, see, look, I wouldn't want to be putting that kind of pressure on a 17-year-old Harry Amas. I was listening to his interviews after the game yesterday, and he does seem like a very confident young man. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He talks quite with a lot of sense for a 17-year-old. So I do think he can come in and play for Manchester United, absolutely. I wouldn't be putting pressure on him to be the starting left-back for United. This season is all about bleeding him into the first team, And, I mean, if Luke Shaw does get injured, then you can go, all right, Luke Shaw's out for 3 games. Harry, you're in. Brilliant. Happy days. And then you can take him back out and drip feed him in when Shaw is fit again. What about Amrabat for 10 million? Yeah, look, I mean, reading a couple of the reports there in the last maybe hour or so before we went live to see what I was going to talk about, there was a report there talking about Amrabat and United. It did say that United would go back in for Amrabat if they couldn't get Ugarte. So it's looking like the Amrabat deal is going further and further away. That's not to say we won't sign him. I would like to bring him in for that kind of money. He's a good squad player, absolutely. And like if you're bringing in Ugarte to do that number 6 role, and you bring in Amrabat as his backup, you could sell Casemiro because you wouldn't need him, And if Adrian Rabiot comes in then as well, that adds another layer to it as well. So there are a lot of options at centre midfield. We just need maybe to get that first one over the line with Ugarte, and that will have the domino effect to the later plans in the transfer window. Neverwhere says he wouldn't be injured right now. Had he signed for any other team. I'm thinking Ligt with his injury record as is would be useless with our medical department. Shaw will play about 300 minutes this season. Johnson Bobby says, please talk about the Ligt's weekly wages. Well, we don't know what they are yet. There was some reports suggesting it was around 100 grand. We won't know until he comes. Macmillan says De Ligt isn't happening. United want a left-sided centre back. They will more than likely go in for Brantwaite again or someone else who's a left-footed centre back before De Ligt. Well, my argument to that, and I do appreciate your comment, Macmillan, is that who comes in now that Lenny Yoro is injured? Are you going back to Lindelof? Are you going back to Harry Maguire? Is that what you want? That's not what I want. I don't think that's what Erik ten Hag wants, and I don't think it's what the majority of United fans want. So I think we do need another centre-back in there that's right-footed. It doesn't change the fact that we probably need a left-footed centre-back as well. But these guys are experienced pros. De Ligt could play a left centre-back. Of course he could. I know it's not what Erik ten Hag wants. Erik ten Hag likes to have a right-footed centre-back and a left-footed centre-back playing on them sides. But we know Luke Shaw can play there as well. So I don't think for that reason alone, De Ligt is not going to happen. United wouldn't have gone, into such depth for him. And I think the Yoro deal happened so quickly. We kind of went, oh, all right, okay. What does that mean for De Ligt? But I do still think, I mean, there has to be some kind of communication between Manchester United and De Ligt, because he has come out and said, and he has come out and turned down numerous offers from other clubs in Europe because he wants to sign for Manchester United. As far back as yesterday, we heard them reports, So if there was communication between Manchester United and De Ligt saying, now, look, we're after signing Yoro, we don't want you, he'd be gone somewhere else already, I think, or we would have heard, of another team being in for him. So I think for that reason, I still do think that, there's a high possibility we get him. Neverworld says, if Shaw gets injured, you've made a mistake, fella. Should have been when Shaw gets injured. All right. He's fantastic, but the injury and the miraculous recovery to play for his country worries me. Mark says, hopefully these injuries don't carry on for the rest of the season. Oh, yeah, hopefully so, Mark. Almost says, we will end up with the Bayern right back and Amrabat. Terrible we are not getting De Ligt. Would have done it by now. No, I think we will. I think we're still going for him. I still think we're in for him. I think we'll get him, to be honest with you. Let's not pay stupid money for a centre back. That's one, not worth paying that price tag, and two, could be shite under the pressure of the bigger stage. Reece says, the one we are truly never getting is Brantwaite. They sold Amadou Onana and now they don't have to sell him. And Macmillan says, Ineos aren't going to be reactive like the previous board were. This is a 3 to 5 year project. Yoro is out for 2 months or so. Euro injury doesn't change the board's thinking. They have a plan. Yeah, maybe so, but I mean, look, we have heard, I do agree they have a plan, and I'm absolutely delighted that they do, and not just a plan for this summer. They're already, planning for, next summer and the summer after, which is fantastic to hear. But we heard reports as little as 2 weeks ago, before Euro signed, that United could potentially be looking at 3 centre-backs if we could get rid of the likes of Lindelof and Maguire. Now, I do know that that's a lot of work and a lot of deals that need to be done, but let's see what happens. There's no point in worrying about it, because it's what we've wanted for a decade now. We've wanted us to be linked and to be progressing with a number of different players simultaneously, so that if one falls through, you can go for the other. So yeah, it's a good complaint to have. Let's see. Almost says selling Wan Bissaka for that shit right back. That's what's that all about? Well, he's got 1 year left on his contract, so if we don't sell him this summer, he'll go on free next summer. That's why. If we sign Ligt, I'm worried Euro won't get game time at all. I think he will get game time. I mean, if we get to the latter stages of every competition we're in, which hopefully we will, you're playing close to 60 games in the season, so there's plenty of games to be played. And he's only 18. Neverworld says Mazraoui isn't half bad, but needs to be prem tested, is my issue with it. Euro is out for 3 months, yeah. De Ligt doesn't come in to play a second choice to Euro, especially now that we turned Euro from Madrid. How long has Maguire left in his contract? Too long. With our medical department, I'd be surprised if living at the back of Old Trafford don't get minutes this season. And Bobby says, let's encourage Fish in that centre back. Yeah, I don't think he's up to it, to be quite honest with you. I don't. But guys, look, we will leave it there. If you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. And it's great to see new names coming in every night. Macmillan is new, Olmo is new, Bobby is new. Great to see guys coming in and getting involved in the chat. That's what the channel is all about. I love the back and forth, people having their opinion. And even if we don't agree with one another, it's absolutely fantastic that you're getting involved, and I do appreciate it as always. So if you haven't, please hit that like button for me. Helps the channel out an awful lot. Hit subscribe as well. I won't be here tomorrow night, guys, because I'm going to be at a wedding, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do a watch along for the Man United and Liverpool game on Saturday night. Reason being is that I'm playing in the charity match with the Manchester United legends Jaap Stam and Brian McClare and so on and so forth. You can get the tickets to that game still if you're living in Ireland. You can get the tickets at ballyfermotunited.com. They're nearly all gone. But I will be at the gala dinner after the game, and I'm staying the night up in Dublin, so I won't be able to do the United and Liverpool watch along on Saturday. So it'll be Monday night that I'll be back with another news show, guys. And yeah, it's great to see so many new people in. I do appreciate it. Apologies for not getting the watch along done on the weekend. But look, the next watch along we'll have will be Manchester City in the Community Shield. So happy days, absolutely buzzing for that. So myself and Jaap Stam will be playing centre back side by side on Saturday. It's going to be a dream come true. So I'm going to try and get as much content as I can. I don't want to be one of them lads wearing a GoPro during the game. I don't think I can do it. I've played football for 25 years. I don't want to turn out to be that fucking idiot that wears a GoPro standing beside Jaap Stam and Brian McClare. So I'll see what happens. I'll get as much content as I possibly can, and we'll upload a little video of it maybe next week at some stage. But guys, thanks for watching. Do appreciate it. Smash the like button, hit subscribe. I'll chat to you on Monday. Have a great weekend, and I'll chat to you then. Take it easy.